And
Mm.
Sir Ryan, actually, napanood ko rin yung hearing nyo recently sa
Okay.
lower house. Very, very fiery, to say the least. Very, very, mainit. Sobrang init. And
Mm.
one of the, I don't want to call them stars, pero one of the highlights of the hearing is yung mga comments ni Ibon Foundation.
Oo.
And one of them is that uh, economic chacha daw will not develop the Philippines nor solve the livelihood crisis. Sabi ni Ibon Foundation. And taking siguro removing the idea na they're a communist front. What's your comment regarding this
Well,
topic?
plain and simply a lie. It's plain and simply the product of ignorance. It's essentially a statement mentioned by people who know nothing about business or nothing about economics. So ang meron lang ay propaganda. It's
Mhm.
clearly what that is, because Singapore pa lang mismo
Mhm.
paulit-ulit sinasabi ng Singapore na that's how we solve our unemployment problem. We brought in foreign investors. Sabi nga ni Lee Kuan Yew, ganito, isa sa mga issues nila dati nung 1965, nung naging independent sila, sinabihan din sila ng Great Britain na, hey guys, we're now, we're no longer the rich empire that we were before, so we are going to
Mhm.
scale down our military. So yung mga military bases namin sa Singapore, kasi Singapore used to be like a Subic and Clark kind of thing, no? Yung para silang may
Right.
Clark Air Base and then meron din silang Subic, parang gano'n, no? Naval and Air Force, ganyan. And those were major employers of the people of Singapore. And
Mhm.
then biglang nagsabi ang UK sa Singapore government na, "Oy, by the way, magse-scale back na kami." Meaning to say, in 2 years time, we're going to be parang i-close down na namin yung bases. Si Lee Kuan Yew syempre nataranta. Hey,
Mhm.
wait. Yung mga tauhan ko diyan nagtatrabaho, ang like 40-50% of my population works for your bases. I mean, come
Mhm.
on guys, can you extend? Gumanon siya. Pwede ba ninyong extend another extra 2 years para may konti naman kaming oras para makapag-react? So, eventually nagsabi yung mga British, oh, sige. Kasi ginano, si Lee Kuan Yew, he sold them on the idea by saying, "Oy, kung close down niyo yung bases niyo, pinull out niyo yung troops niyo dito, di baka ma-take over kami ng mga komunista." Gumanon siya.
Mhm. Anyway, bago tayo magpatuloy mga kutsara, mag-shoutout muna tayo sa mga kaibigan natin sa Sendwave! So kayo ay nasa US, UK, Canada, Italy, France, Spain, Ireland, and Belgium, may pwede na kayo magpadala na inyong mga remittance sa Pilipinas nang wala pong remittance fees gamit ang Sendwave. Ang gagawin nyo lang ay download ng Sendwave app, gawa kayo ng account, ilagay nyo ba ang account details nyo dyan at pwede na kayo magpadala sa Pilipinas sa GCash, sa mga bangko at iba't ibang mga pawn shop din sa bansa. At kapag ginamit nyo pa kayong promo code na Coach Jared ay makakakuha kayo ng karagdagang $20 free credit. Yan. Kaya gamitin na si Sendwave for all of your remittance needs. Okay.
No? Gusto nyo ba na ma-take over kami just like what happened to Vietnam, parang North Vietnam was taken over by the communists and all that, all these other countries na take over ng mga communists. You want that to happen to us? So parang tinakot niya sila, and then the British said, "Oh, sige, we will give you an extension." Parang ganon. When he got that extension, Singapore, si Lee Kuan Yew decided, okay, now that I bought time for my people, what am I going to do now para magkaroon talaga sila ng livelihood alternatives, no? And that's when he was told by this guy from the UN, Dr. Albert Vinzemius, who was a Dutch economist working for the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program.
Mhm.
He told him, why don't you bring in foreign direct investors? And Lee Kuan Yew had no choice.
Ah.
Sabi niya, gawin ko kaya yun. Total, ang importante sa mga tao is magkatrabaho sila. Hindi naman importante kung sino yung may-ari ng kumpanya, eh. 'Di ba? And
Right.
as an OFW myself, ganun din. You know, working in Singapore, I was not working for a Filipino company. I was working for, I worked for Microsoft before. Later, I worked for HP. American companies ang mga to. And then later on, eventually, I also ended up working also for Philips, which is a Dutch company. So parang, you know, it's like, I'm not working for a Filipino company anyway. And yet, I like working in these foreign companies kasi maganda yung training nila, maganda yung trato nila sa mga empleyado, okay yung sweldo nila, ganun. So parang, you know, for me, that's what was important. I didn't care. It didn't matter to me na yung kumpanya na pinagtatrabahuan ko ay hindi Pilipino. It didn't matter to me. So, itong mga tao, for example, dun sa hearing, ang dami dyan, yung mga makakaliwa, di ba? Puro sila, dapat national industries tayo. Na, parang ginaganon ko sila. I said that in one of my manifestations there. Sabi ko, ano ba talagang prioridad nyo? National industries. Para sa aming mga ordinaryong manggagawa, ordinaryong Pilipino, mga ordinaryong mamamayan, wala kaming pakialam sino yung may-ari ng kumpanya. Ang pakialam namin, magkatrabaho muna kami. Sabi ko. So, why not? Yan muna ang i-prioritize natin. Eventually, it will happen. You know, pag lahat ng mga Pilipinong walang trabaho ay nagkatrabaho na, eventually, there will also emerge people among those mga empleyado who will become entrepreneurs and become parang business starters who will set up a new Filipino-owned business that is innovating and creating some new product or whatever. It will happen. Don't worry about it. It will happen eventually. Pero unahin muna natin na ayusin yung unemployment problem ng Pilipinas. Yun yung para sa akin, as an OFW, na as an ordinary middle class person na hindi naman galing sa mga pamilya na may mga asyenda, di ba? Para sa akin, hindi importante yung may Filipino brand, whatever. It will happen. Basta unahin natin magkatrabaho ang mga ordinaryong Pilipino para mawala na yung poverty, mawala yung unemployment. Di ba?
Correct. I agree with that argument. And it's really funny. Actually, I find it funny na maraming like the statement of Cynthia Villar wherein she says na maliit na bagay lang naman yung magiging changes when at the end of the day yung mga changes na yung mga amendments na gagawin sa Constitution will bring in jobs for everyone.
It will bring in jobs. Yes. Yun yung importante. Parang hindi niya nakikita yun. First of all, pag pinarami natin, tinanggal natin yung mga anti-foreign direct investment restrictions na yan, it's a big signal to foreign companies to please come here, consider the Philippines as an investment location. And many will undoubtedly come to the Philippines kasi nga marami namang talaga bilib sa mga Pilipino eh. Lalo na't yung mga there are all these companies na yung mga executives nilang mga puti nakapagtrabaho dati sa Gulf region alongside Filipinos. Bilib na bilib sa mga Pilipino yung mga taong yan. And that's why when they have the opportunity to expand, they want to expand in the Philippines kasi nga bilib sila sa mga Pilipino. Problema, pagdating dun sa konstitusyon, dun sila nakakita ng balakid. Dun sila nakakita ng sagabal. Oops! Mahirapan tayong pumasok nito. May ganito 60-40 na arrangement. Pero pag tinanggal natin yan, wala na yung balakid. Wala na yung sagabal. Pwede na silang pumasok. And when that happens, eventually, yung mga kumpanya ang daming pumasok, di ba? Masosolve nga natin talaga yung unemployment problem. And then yung mga OFW na nasa labas, eventually magsasabi na, uy, ang dami ng trabaho sa Pilipinas. And of course, yung median salary range tumataas din, no?
Tumataas, yeah.
They will decide, uwi na tayo, balik na tayo. And then and then yung mga new graduates, hindi na sila aasa na mag-OFW na naman ako. Hindi, they will say, I can work in the Philippines and earn a decent salary. So, parang magche-change talaga yung outlook ng mga Pilipino, magche-change yung general complexion of the workforce. Mawawala na yung issue ng mga tawag nito, yung mga absentee parents. Kasi nga, ang nangyayari sa ngayon, di ba, ang daming mga OFW families na yung nanay nasa Hong Kong bilang maid, ang tatay nasa Gulf region siguro as a construction worker. Tapos yung mga anak naiwan sa Pilipinas na
Right.
walang gumagabay. 'Di ba? Tapos nasuspoil pa sila kasi nga yung parents feeling guilty na hindi nila kasama yung kanilang anak sa birthday, sa Christmas. Nagpapadala sila lagi every month ng gifts, ng toys, ganyan na hindi naman deserved. So yung bata lumalaki yung ulo, lagi akong nagkaroon ng ng gift kahit bagsak ako sa sa school, mga ganun. 'Di ba? Nagkakaroon tayo ng ganyang problem. And then eventually nagkakaroon tayo ng mga drug addict na mga bata, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga yung mga out of school, hindi nakakapagtapos ng kolehiyo, etc. Nagkakaroon tayo ng mga ganyang malalaking social problems dahil hindi natutugunan itong issue ng being able to bring in foreign direct investors. Kasi yun na nga, nawawala, konti lang ang mga trabaho sa Pilipinas and yun, napipwersa ang marami na maging OFW. At napag-iiwanan ng pamilya, nagkakahiwalay ang mga pamilya, nagkakawatak-watak ang mga pamilya. Ayan, broken families everywhere. Who wants that, di ba?
Of course. No country would want
Nobody wants that, di ba?
Correct.
Oo.
Correct. But a common Sir Orion, a common what do you call this? Criticism din ng pagpapalit ng pag-open up ng economy is that it doesn't guarantee investments. So how would you
That's
address
totally
that?
wrong. That's totally wrong. That's a lie. That is gawa-gawa, invento lang yan ng mga, yun nga, Ipot Foundation, Ibon Foundation, at ng yung mga komunista, at yung mga oligarchs, yung mga taong, many of these people na oligarchs na hindi talaga marunong talaga sa business. Kasi Cynthia Villar is not the visionary businessman. It's her husband who is, di ba? Now, ang point ko rin about people like her, she doesn't understand that actually pag pumasok ang maraming foreign direct investors, actually yung kumpanya ng kanyang pamilya ang makikinabang. 'Di ba? Sa totoo lang, all these oligarchs who own a lot of companies already, when the foreign investors start coming in, sila ang unang makikinabang. Kasi yung mga kumpanyang mga yan, mga pagpasok ng mga foreign companies na yan, kailangan nilang mag-rent ng office space. Kailangan nilang, yung mga executives nila, kailangan magre-rent ng titirhan. Di ba? Saan sila titira? Siyempre, sila sa mga real estate developer na which are owned by these old families or the Villars. I mean, makikinabang sila. These companies, when they start setting up offices, they start setting up factories, kailangan nila mag-contact ng mga construction company para makapag-build ng mga warehouse and mga factories nila, 'di ba? So, yung mga local construction companies kikita ng marami. Sa totoo lang, that's the reason why the real business groups, including the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, pro sila sa constitutional reform. Pro sila sa pagtanggal ng 60-40. See, the late Gokong Wei, the late John Gokong Wei, he was very, 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 very pro constitutional reform. Gusto niyang tanggalin yung 60-40, gusto niyang mag-parliamentary system, gusto niya ng federalism. I mean, like, ito yung mga visionary kasi ng mga tao, di ba? Yung mga makikitid lang ang utak, yun yung mga natatakot na, baka mawawala kami. Well, mawawala kayo kung masyado kayong complacent at naglalaro lagi kayo ng golf lamang at hindi kayo nakatutok sa business nyo. Diba? Pero yung mga talagang business-minded na mga businessman, they will welcome bringing in foreign investors. Why? Because that improves the market. Pumasok sila, dumami yung mga taong may trabaho, yung mga Pilipinong may trabaho, may sweldo ng pambili ng mga produkto nila na binebenta ng mga kumpanya nila. So, that's why the late John Gokong Wei was very pro bringing in foreign investors. Kasi para sa kanya, pag pumasok ang mga foreign investors, edi dadami yung mga Pilipinong may trabaho. Para sa kanya, sabi niya, edi pag yung mga Pilipino may mga trabaho na, wala nang mga tambay na walang trabaho, yung mga taong may trabaho, may sweldo, pwede na silang bumili ng C2, pwede silang bumili ng ng chippy, pwede silang bumili ng ticket. Kasi may pera na, pwede silang bumili ng ticket sa Cebu Pacific. Kaya parang everybody's happy. Everybody, win-win ito. Hindi yung win-lose. Pag pumasok sila, talo ako. Hindi. Para sa kanya, panalo lahat. And that's how a real businessman thinks. Hindi yung, pag pumasok sila, talo na ako agad. Loser lang ang ganyan mag-isip, di ba?
Correct. So, what do you think now? Since kayo po yung naka-attend ng mga hearings and all of that, and if I'm not mistaken, naka-attend din po kayo ng hearing ni Senator Robin Padilla, even before, if I'm not mistaken, 2023 or 2022. In your observation, Sir Arayon, ano ba yung nagiging mindset? Or what do you think is the mindset of these politicians? Bakit some of them, or majority of them, are against, at least, at the very least right now, is the economic charter change?
Well, kasi hindi nila naintindihan at saka parang masyado silang naniniwala sa fake propaganda, yung mga false propaganda. Yun yung ano. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to address, there's a comment here by a person named Cabin, Mount Cabin, no? Umuwi ka na nga, 'di ba? Oh, umuwi na ako. Actually, nandito na ako sa Pilipinas. Balikbayan na po ako ngayon. OFW ako dati for more than 20 years. Kababalik ko lang nung middle of January. So nasa Pilipinas na po ako. Kaya nga ako pumupunta sa mga yung mga Senate hearing at saka sa mga House hearing kasi nandito na ako sa Pilipinas. Pinaglalaban ko na ito. Ganun. Yun yung
so you're
gusto ko
doing
sabihin
this
sa
full
kanya.
time na, Sir Arayon?
I'm doing this. I'm basically doing this full time. Yeah, I'm basically doing this full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
Commitment nga talaga. Well, I'll be honest also. I'll be honest. Partly what has happened is 2022 nag-apply din kami ng family namin for an option, which is everybody's checking out Canada, 'di ba? So nag-try din ako, nag-send ako ng application and hinihintay ko lang actually yung approval. And so at least pag na-approve na yun, I have the option na kung pupunta ba kami o hindi. 'Di ba? So dito sa Pilipinas, mas murang hintayin yung imbis na doon ako sa Singapore naghihintay. And secondly, kaya rin ako umuwi kasi ito nangyari. I'll tell you, this is mahabang usapan to pero
sure, no problem.
This is what happened, no. Last year, 2023, merong isang Pilipina sa Singapore. I don't know if you're familiar with this. She's a TikToker and she was thanking her dad for buying her a bag, yung bag, yung Charles & Keith bag. So we're talking about Zoe Gabriel. And so she was cyberbullied by several people. And then because of that, she got the attention of the company and they rewarded her. They made her into a brand endorser, brand ambassador. And it was not only Charles & Keith, but also AirAsia and several other companies gave her a lot of freebies, etc. And then a few months later, so that was in January when she got those rewards. In April, there were some Singaporeans na kasi there's this big xenophobia happening in Singapore now. Parang all these Filipinos and all these other people from other countries are taking our jobs away. Parang ganun, parang they're taking our jobs. They're taking our rice bowl. Ganyan yung sinasabi ng ibang mga Singaporean. I mean, periodically during an election year, there are people aligned with the opposition in Singapore who will stir up hatred against foreigners. And then they will blame the government of Singapore kung bakit ang dami ng mga foreigners sa Singapore. Yun yung ginagawa nila. Let's bring our OFWs back home because we're not always welcome in the countries where we work. That's why ang daming mga abuso, di ba? And in Singapore pa lang, this has been happening so many times. There was a time in 2013, I think there was someone who was parang they were really going against the Filipino community. And then there was one guy who probably na inis, he said things against Singaporeans in general, which I think is wrong also. Masama yung sinulat niya. And then, but he deleted it. And he deleted it anyway. But in any case, parang na-screenshot, tapos pinaano sa police. Tapos this poor guy, Eds Elio yung pangalan, they put him in prison. He went to trial. He was deported. Before he was deported, he went to prison for I think 2 months or something like that. I mean, I think it's freaking unfair. Singapore should not have done that because this guy was goaded into it only by very, very evil Singaporeans who were really saying bad things about Filipinos. And this guy, misguided as he was in attacking Singaporeans in general, it was just basically a retaliatory move. And I think he should have just been given a warning na lang, But
Right.
why do they do that? And then in my case, I'm very careful, no? So I never said anything against Singaporeans in general. Tinira ko lang yung mga individual na yan. Ikaw, si Rinho, ikaw, Leonard Ong Untian, ikaw, mga masasamang tao kayo, in English ko, tinira sila. But I never said anything about Singaporeans in general. But these people tried to make it look as if I was against Singaporeans in general. And they parang kinalat-kalat nila, sinisira talaga nila yung reputation ko sa Singapore. And anyway, I'm going to work together with people in Congress to see if we can declare these people persona non grata and then get the Philippine government to make a diplomatic protest to Singapore about these people para ma-expedite yung kaso na sinampal ko sa kanila. Kasi meron akong kasong sinampal sa mga yan. Pero ang bagal talaga ng kilos ng Singapore Police Force dahil sa parang problema ng Singapore Police Force, kailangan mo ng may masaksak or may manakaw bago sila talaga kikilos. Parang, harassment, wala yan, salita lang yan. Parang ganun sila eh. Pero, gusto ko sabihin sa kanya, hey, guys, nawalan ako ng trabaho, ang daming nawala, umalis na kami. Yung pangalan ng anak ko, yung school niya, talagang sinagsira-siraan ng mga walang kwentang mga taong ito. Diba? So, right. I mean, this is the reason why I'm really fighting for the rights of OFWs. Kasi I went through it myself as an OFW na siniraan ako nito mga siraulong cyberbully na mga psychopath galing sa Singapore. The vast majority of Singaporeans are good people. But this group of evil people, mga 5, 6, at most 10 people, are really evil. They're really evil. Hindi ka tatantanan nila ng mga yan. So kailangan, we should do a major campaign siguro to get these people, yung si Rinho na yan at saka yung kanyang mga kaibigan na yan, na mawala na talaga forever sa social media at talagang i-lobby yung government ng Singapore na ipapreso, na yan, ipakulong na yung mga walang yan na yan. Because to begin with, hindi lang naman kaming mga Pilipinong natamaan. Even other Singaporeans, marami na siyang sinisiraan yung kanyang tawag nito, yung kanyang account sa Facebook, puro paninira sa ibang tao. Ako lang ang nakapagpa-bring down sa kanyang account dahil sa, syempre, mass reporting and all that. Napamass report ko siya dahil, I mean, I also have quite a number of followers, but, I ask help from everyone and yun, minas report siya. Ayan, nawala yung kanyang, she's now on her 7th account na yata. pero diba, my point is, diba, siraulo talaga yung tao. And then she has fellow psychopaths na siraulo din. And talagang hindi nila tatantanan ng case ko kasi nga siraulo sila eh. Mga may saltik talaga mga taong to. And they really hate Filipinos. Mga racist, xenophobes talaga sila. It's just sad, no, that this is what we OFWs go through. I mean, not all of us go through this, but many of us do. I mean, in other countries pa, it's worse. Maybe the kind of discrimination that they go through. So that's why I feel Filipinos, for us to really live a good life, is for us to live a good life in the Philippines where our home really is. Diba? So let's make our economic situation better by doing the right economic policies, which means bring in the foreign investors. That's what everybody else is doing. That's what Singapore has been doing. That's what Malaysia is doing. That's what Indonesia is doing. That's what Vietnam is doing. That's what Thailand has been doing. Everyone's doing that, bringing in foreign direct investors. Bakit hanggang ngayon, pinapakinggan pa rin natin itong mga Ipot Foundation at saka yung mga makakaliwang komunista na yan na, I explained in the hearing recently on Wednesday, sabi ko, even these Marxist-Leninists in the Philippines don't even know anything about their own history as communists. They don't even know that in communist Russia, in the 1920s, there was a point in time where Lenin even admitted na hindi nila kayang i-run yung kanilang economy by themselves, that they needed capitalists to help out and they needed foreign investors to bring in. That's why they set up the Soviet new economic policy. And during that time, they nag-invite yung Soviet Russia, which later became the Soviet Union, later on. They they brought in so many American companies to help out in setting up mga hydroelectric plants.
Right.
They invited German companies that were building cars, French companies that were building airplanes, etc. All these companies from Western Europe who had the know-how and the capital, the financial capital to set up factories, etc. to help manufacture all these things and teach the Russian people, the Soviets, how to do these. Kasi wala silang know-how eh. Zero knowledge sila about industry, about manufacturing. So they needed help from these more advanced countries. No, they brought them in. They brought in these companies, and that's how they learned. And hindi alam ni na Sony Africa ito, hindi alam ni na Nery Colmenares ito, hindi alam ito ni na Raul Manuel kasi hindi sila nagbabasa, hindi sila nagre-research, hindi nila alam ang sariling history ng komunismo. Hindi nila alam. Komunismo mismo, 'di ba? Soviet Russia 'yun ang ginawa na naging open sa foreign investors pa eh. Tapos hanggang ngayon, no, all countries were protection. No, even Russia was open to foreign investors. Ano ba? Yan yung frustration ko na parang yung fake news laging napapairal, napapakalat ng mga to eh. 'Di ba?
Yeah, that's true. And it's weird nga eh kasi kung titingnan natin you mentioned earlier si China with Deng Xiaoping, they opened their economy and doon din naman nanggagaling yung tao dito. Doon din naman nanggaling yung history ng CPP. They are the local version of the CCP.
Yes.
So I don't understand bakit sila mismo hindi nila ma-recognize yung importance ng foreign direct investment when they are actually the Philippine version of the Chinese Communist Party. So
something is really wrong with them.
Correct. So it's really interesting for me that ganun sila mag-isip. But Sir Orion, what siguro kung so we're talking about FDIs and amending the charter. Siguro what would be the top 3 that you think should be, or naman top 3? What would be the most urgent by siguro in your opinion by order of importance na dapat nating i-amend sa charter?
Actually, ganito. Para sa akin, very simply put, kami sa Correct Movement, we've been pushing for 3 main reforms. The first reform, the first type of reform is the economic liberalization reform, which means tatanggalin lahat ng mga anti-foreign direct investment restrictions, which includes all those 60-40 restrictions against foreign investors, the 70-30 restriction against advertising, the ban on mass media ownership by foreigners, the ban on allowing foreign professionals to practice their professions in the Philippines, anything to do with any 60-40 or anything that prevents foreign investors from coming in, kailangan tanggalin yun. For me, that's the most basic. Kailangan ma-delete yan sa Constitution. Kasi that's what basically sends a very strong signal to the rest of the world that we are serious about opening up and participating in the global economy. Tapos number 2, yung first one kasi was to bring in the jobs, diba? Bring in the companies that will create jobs. Now number 2, we want to make sure that the jobs that get created in the Philippines don't only get created in Metro Manila. We want these jobs to be created everywhere in the Philippines, in every region. No? So we want the economic development to get spread out to the rest of the country, hindi lang Metro Manila. So that's where federalism comes in. No? Pag nagkaroon ng federalism, we're basically empowering the regions to be able to make their own economic policies, their own taxation, like parang pwede nilang pababaan yung taxes nila para mas makapag-attract ng investors. They can set up their own investment incentive schemes to attract more investors to come in. Right. So parang you give them the the initiative. Let them have the initiative, or let them take the initiative, and give them rewards for it. Because right now, the way things are working under our very centralized unitary system, any move that a provincial or local government or regional administration wants to do something, they need approval from NEDA. They need approval
Correct.
from Metro Manila, 'di ba? Manila has to approve anything that they want to
Mhm.
do. So they don't really have that parang leeway or that flexibility. But under federalism, they'll have that. So they can now basically decide, kami mahilig, kami, yung lugar namin bagay sa mining, then we can focus our efforts on mining. Or yung area namin more on agriculture kasi ganito yung type of land namin. So we can focus our efforts on really developing agriculture and other related industries that can feed in and help out with agriculture. Ganun, no? So the the regions kasi, the people in the regions are better equipped to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. NEDA does not have all the information. Nandiyan
Right.
sa Metro Manila, tas hindi naman niya alam talaga yung mga concerns ng mga tao sa Benguet or
Yeah.
sa Ilocos or sa Zamboanga. They don't really know the nitty-gritty details. But the people there, the experts among the people there, they know. Diba?
Mhm.
So that's why federalism is the better way to do it. No? And
I think
then,
the reason sorry
yeah, go
sorry
ahead.
to cut you
Sige.
Sir Ryan. I think the reason behind the yung bakit kailangan yung NEDA is for equity. That's what I usually hear. It's for equity purposes na parang si NEDA yung may central records of all of the whatever na nangyayari sa mga provinces. That's why it has to be approved daw by NEDA. But I don't know. Hindi ko alam kung
The way I
how it
see it
applies in
na,
the region eh. Yeah.
oo, ang mangyayari, pag nag-federalism tayo, there will now be a more decentralized version of NEDA,
Right.
whereby parang, meron pa rin coordination, but wala na yung parang gatekeeper status niya.
Right.
Parang more
Right.
of siguro advisory na siya. Parang, okay, kung gusto niyo gawin to, pwede kaming tumulong sa inyo with more information here, ganyan-ganyan. But wala na yung parang, oops, hindi muna kayo pwede kasi may tinututukan pa kaming ibang project dun eh. Parang,
Correct.
ganun ang nangyayari, di ba? Anyway, I was going to move to the next one, which is to be able to have efficient governance and also to lessen corruption as well, no? Corruption and inefficiencies. So we need a form of government that is more platform and principles focused, more party focused, less personality focused, which is the parliamentary system. So pag nag-parliamentary system tayo, we'll actually end up having better quality leaders. We will have a more efficient way of governing the Philippines. Kapag kunyari may prime minister na pumalpak, madali siyang tanggalin. And then obviously, there's laging nakabantay yung mga taga-opposition doon so that it keeps the administration on their toes kasi laging nakabantay yung galing sa kabila. And there's parang may active pagbabatikos and pagbubusisi. It's like almost every week, essentially, the way it works in a parliamentary system, you have parang may SONA every week, yung prime minister, no? Nagsusona siya, and then at the same time, after siya mag-talk about what are the weekly achievements we've had, babatikusin ngayon siya ng kabila, di ba? So, tapos magbabalik-taktakan sila. So, parang it's a more dynamic system, and then it's got more real-time monitoring, unlike the system we have right now. It's parang after the fact nangyayari yung mga fact-finding dun sa parliamentary system, bago nangyari yung issue, merong balitaktakan.
Nabatikos na siya.
Na ano na siya, parang may proactive monitoring na nangyayari. Bago mangyari yung issue, na pag-uusapan siya. Sa Pilipinas, sa presidential system, parang magkakaroon lang ng usapan pagkatapos ng namatay yung pasyente. Parang ganun.
Correct.
Diba?
Pag nanakaw na yung budget or what happened.
Nanakaw na yung budget, nawala. Hindi yung habang pinag-iisipan pa anong gagawin sa budget, nagkakaroon talaga ng active na discussion. Hindi eh. So, mas maganda talaga yung So, those are the 3 reforms na pinag-usapan natin. So, yung removing the anti-foreign direct investment restrictions, number 2, federalism, and then last is parliamentary system. Now, obviously, may hinahabol tayo, and I like what you said, no, may hinahabol tayo, which is the elections next year.
Mhm.
And because hinahabol natin yung elections next year, we know that um, October this year, October 2024, is the filing of candidacy.
Mhm.
So, for sure, dapat, by hook or by crook, lahat ng mga preparations para sa mga reforma na kailangan nating ipagplebisito next year,
Mhm.
dapat by September 2024,
Yeah.
ayos na yun,
Tapos na.
planchado na dapat yun. So, that's why I'm saying na wala tayong time para pag-usapan yung federalism at saka parliamentary kasi komplikadong mga reforms yan. No?
Mhm.
They're very complicated kasi it's like kung nagpo-programming ka, nagsusulat ka ng program, parang millions of lines of code that you need to
Mhm.
write. Whereas, in the case of yung tawag nito, yung pagtatanggal ng mga restrictions, may dinidelete ka lang, may seven ka lang, 7 lines of code na i-delete mo. Tanggal to, tanggal to, tanggal to, tanggal. Tapos that's it, no? Tatanggalin mo lang and that's it. So mas madali
It's
siyang
easier.
gawin. It's easier to do. So we have just enough time to make this happen para mahabol natin siya for the 2025 elections.
Mhm.
Pag sinama pa kasi natin yung mga political structural provisions like yung federalism, parliamentary, that needs a minimum of 1 year or in fact 2 years
Yeah.
ng balitaktakan and discussions bago tayo makapagkaroon ng plansyadong draft. So wala talaga tayong oras kung gagawin natin yun. So kaya i-fit na lang natin for the 2025 elections itong pagtatanggal ng mga anti-foreign direct investment restrictions at yun lang, that and that alone ang pag-usapan muna natin. Next time na lang, in the next term, starting after the elections of 2025, doon na lang tayo makapag-usap about the other stuff na kasi
Yeah,
at
the
least we'll have
provisions.
time. Oo.
Right. So this is just a question coming from me.
Sure.
So we have up until September,
Yes.
or at least
yes.
Congress has up until September to na buuin yung CONAS, tapos gawin nila yung mga necessary changes,
Mhm.
and then for plebiscite next year.
Next year, yes.
With recently the most recent survey I've heard is that 45% of Filipinos are still anti-Chacha. But 40% of Filipinos are merong slow but sure increase sa mga gusto na ng charter change. But still, compared to the anti and the doesn't care, mababa siya. It's 45-40 if I'm not mistaken.
It's weird kasi, Coach, no? Kasi parang last time, I think I remember in 2018, there were other surveys. The question before was, ayos ba kayo na mag-federalism? Ganon. Tapos the other one was, okay ba kayo na mag-ayos na baguhin yung constitution? And they had very similar results. But the problem then was the survey companies, or the survey company, I think it was Pulse Asia, parang they deliberately muddled up the way they asked the question. So, parang ganito yung tanong nila. Are you willing to have okay ka ba na mag-federalism ang Pilipinas? Tapos, imbis na yes or no, yes, no, and don't know, ang ginawa nila, yes now, yes later, no, and don't know. So, splinit nila yung yes.
Yung yes.
Splinit nila yung yes.
Correct.
Tapos,
mali yata yun.
Mali yun, di ba? So, splinit nila yung yes. So, yung yes, naging parang roughly 30% yes now.
Yes now, yeah.
30% yes later. 30% na ayaw talaga. And then there was like 10% na mga don't know or don't care. So, pag titingnan mo, parang pag pinagsama mo yung dalawang yes, yung yes now and yes later, 60% yun sa totoo lang.
Yeah.
Pero laging lumalabas sa news reports, ay ano lang, only 30% want yes are for amending the constitution now. And then the way they make the headline, it appears na only 30% want it. But actually, pag binasa mo yung article, when you click on it and then you read the article, nakikita mo, oh, pag pinagsama mo yung yes now at saka yes later, 60% yun eh. So, in fact, I think if we really, kung bubusisiin natin talaga na mabuti, baka if we look at the figures, yung breakdown niya, baka makita natin, majority pa rin yung mga gusto talaga. Sa tingin ko ha. Kasi normally yun yung ginagawa ng Pulse Asia. Sinisplit nila yung yes eh.
Hinahati yung yes.
Hinahati nila yung yes.
Yeah, but going back kanina, so right now, at least the latest figure na nakita ko, I think it's around December or November last year, 45-40. And we have, kung September, tapos let's say tapos na yung September, and by May of 2025, we're going to vote for a plebiscite. Do you think tayong mga advocates of charter change will have enough time to bring up that number?
I think we will. Especially if we continue to just keep on, we do these informative sessions like what we're doing right now. Marami sa mga tao talaga ay magkakaroon ng more knowledge, and then kailangan hikayatin natin ang lahat ng mga tagapakinig dito na maano natin, na ikalat yung information sa iba't ibang mga tao para, pag nangyari yun, ganun. It will spread like wildfire to other people na hindi pa nakakaalam, pero they will realize, oh, mas maganda nga pala kung ganito. Kasi total, pag nag-abroad tayo, hindi rin naman tayo nagtatrabaho sa mga Filipino companies anyway. So why not, even inside the Philippines, let the foreign companies come in para may trabaho para sa atin, and then we can work in the Philippines earning good money and still be with our families. Diba? Ganon ang gusto natin.
Yeah. So Sir Orion, I would love to have this conversation longer.
Oo. Pero alam natin, konti na lang oras natin. Oo nga eh.
Yeah, konti na lang oras ko, sir. Pero siguro what would be your hindi naman final words, pangit ng final words.
Parting shot.
Parting parting words for our audience regarding charter change and the recent controversy surrounding it. So yun po.
Ayun. So mga kababayan, simple lang po, para to sa ating mga ordinaryong Pilipino, yung Filipino first policy na ginawa dati, actually nangyayari doon, naging Filipino oligarchs first. Yun ang nangyari sa Pilipinas, unfortunately. So gumawa naman tayo ng ordinary Filipinos first, which is wala naman tayong pakialam sa sino yung may-ari ng kumpanya na nag-hire sa atin. Sa totoo lang kasi paminsan nga mas gusto pa nga nating magtrabaho sa mga foreign companies kasi paminsan may mga Filipino companies na kuripot nga magpasweldo eh. 'Di ba? Paminsan,
totoo.
'Di ba? Tapos yung pa yung masyadong hierarchical na dapat sir ang tawag, sir ganyan. Tapos yung mga foreign companies nga first name basis ang tawag, pati yung boss yung pinaka-CEO gustong first name basis ang tawag William ang tawag o Michael, hindi mo sasabihin ng sir hindi nga So tapos maganda pa nga magpasweldo, papadala ka pa dun sa ibang bansa para mag-training, 'di ba? Parang paminsan ito yung nangyayari. And I mean, tayo mga Pilipino, sa totoo lang, tayo mga ordinaryong Pilipino, mas gusto natin na may maganda tayong sweldo, maganda tayong trabaho, maganda yung pagtrato sa atin, at hindi naman talaga natin pakialam kung sino yung may-ari ng kumpanya. So, basta ang importante magkaroon tayo ng magandang kinabukasan para sa ating mga pamilya, 'di ba? So, yun na lang ang tutukan natin, 'di ba? Dumami ang trabaho. I mean, it would be nice kung maraming mga Filipino companies, if there were so many Filipino billionaires and Filipino tycoons, but unfortunately, hindi yan ang nangyayari. Kakaunti lang sila So, kung kulang ang number of Filipino billionaires and Filipino tycoons, di i-augment natin, dagdagan na lang natin ng maraming mga foreign companies para yung kakulangan sa trabaho ay maayos natin, na dumami ang mga trabaho at mawala ang unemployment, mawala ang poverty, mawala ang kahirapan, at makauwi na rin ang maraming OFW. Kasi sa totoo lang, gaya ng nasabi ko, marami sa ating mga OFW paminsan natatamaan ng discrimination, harassment. May iba sa ating mga OFW, pag-uwi na, nasa loob ng kabaong. Hindi maganda yung ganyan eh. So, ayusin natin ang sitwasyon ng Pilipinas. Kung gusto po ninyong malaman ng more information about ito, pwede nyo puntahan yung website namin, correctphilippines.org. Marami po ang mga articles na naisulat dyan na madaling maintindihan, at marami rin po kaming mga tawag nito, mga white papers, mga academic dissertations na sinulat ng mga tanyag na profesor at mga akademiko galing sa iba't ibang mga bansa na talagang magpo-prove na itong ebidensya na hindi namin imbento lang itong mga sinasabi namin. As in, talagang may proof kami na totoo, na may research na ginawa ng mga tanyag na mga profesor at tanyag na mga researcher, political scientists at mga economist. So, yun, hindi to gawa-gawa lang.
By the way, Sir Ryan, nag-ano pala ako, informal survey. Nagpa-survey ako dito sa channel ng payag ka ba sa economic chacha? 97% said yes, 3% said no. May
Wow.
3% talaga.
Wow! May 3% eh. Baka naman hindi mga parokyano mo yung mga yun. Baka mga galing sa labas yun.
Mga trolls.
mga trolls yun.
Anyway, so there. So I hope to see all of you again. And Sir Orion, I hope to see you again one of these days
again,
when we have another discussion on a charter change. And that's about it for everyone. God bless you and see you again next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Pag ganun, huwag natin gawing tanga mga Pilipino. Mas maganda kasi nasa lugar ka ng tama kaysa yung pinipilit mo yung pagkakamali. Are they willing to go that far? Hindi makakalimutan ng Pilipino yan hanggat di nasasagot niya. Sino ngayon nagsasabi ng totoo?